Ever since 2018, Fire Emblem Three Houses has been the main point of discussion for many fans of the series. The Black Eagles, Blue Lions, and Golden Deer have captivated many Fire Emblem fans old and new, and have left a significant mark on the franchise. This has continued to an extent with the mobile game Fire Emblem Heroes, and with 2022's Fire Emblem Warriors Three Hopes. But it may soon be time to depart the world of Fallen for Nintendo's next step forward, one that will dip into the series' entire history in a way we haven't seen before with the newly announced title, Fire Emblem Engage. The trailer opens with us learning the name of the world the game is set in, Helios. The focus slowly zooms into a striking work of art surrounded by two dragons. This invokes a similar art style seen in the intro to each chapter in calendar months in Fire Emblem Three Houses, which is inspired by traditional Renaissance works. Starting at 12 o'clock and going clockwise, we can see Marth with the falchion in his classic pantless outfit that he rocked in the original Shadow Dragon art, Celica from Gaiden in Shadows of Valentia using beloved Sophia, Sigurd from Genealogy of the Holy War, interestingly not using Tearfing, but a lance instead, Lee from Thracia 776 using the Light Brand, Roy from Binding Blade using the Sword of Seals, and Lynn from the Blazing Blade can be seen using her Manikati. Starting off the next half from 6 o'clock is Erica from Sacred Stones using Sieglinde. Then next is a surprise, as it's Ike in his Brave outfit from Fire Emblem Heroes, not using Ragnell but instead his father's axe, Irvin. Next is Micaiah, who we can assume is using her preferred light tone Thani. After that is also unique, it's specifically legendary Lucina from Heroes using the bow Thon, but also wearing the butterfly mask when she hid her identity as Masked Marth. Spoilers for a 10-year-old game? Oops. Next is male Corrin from Fates using a Dragonstone, and finally male Byleth from Three Houses using the Sword of the Creator. We can see another shot of the heroes in battle, and holy cow, look at those quads! No wonder Marth didn't need pants. This is a lot of familiar faces, but this is a new Fire Emblem title, isn't it? Our narrator describes Helios as a world with 4 realms surrounding the Holy Land at the center. 1,000 years ago, this world was at war with the Fell Dragon, the same one seen in the mural art, and heroes known as emblems were summoned to aid them. Fighting alongside them, they conquered and imprisoned the Fell Dragon a millennia ago. The concept of summoning others to battle is not unlike the premise of Fire Emblem Heroes. Be ready for me to refer to this game more than once. But anyway, as years pass, the seal on the Fell Dragon weakens, and we get a good look at one of the main antagonists of the game. Is this in fact the Fell Dragon in human form? The third eye on the forehead makes us think it's almost a guarantee, meaning our antagonist could be a Manakete of sorts. We then get a good look at the main protagonist, with his glorious heterochromia and two-tone neon Joy-Con hair. Honestly, you either like it or you don't. He reaches out for a ring that seems to have been offered to him, the same ring as the one seen on the hero who sealed the Fell Dragon away. We're immediately shown our hero in front of a white dragon, and then a young girl. Similar to our villain, could this dragon and girl be one of the same? Did she offer this ring to our main character? If you look closely, she has a similar two-tone look with neon colors. I feel as though their importance and significance to the story is currently being downplayed in this trailer. Whether she'll play a guiding role in the same vein as Sothis from Three Houses has yet to be seen. The next shot is our hero dashing through a battlefield, likely an early cutscene, or at least one of the first chapters. We're given some nice action shots of a flaming sword-wielding warrior, followed by a staff wielder who... I've never seen a staff user do that before. Staff users, take notes. You need every point of EXP you can get. Her acrobatics transition directly into a blonde lance wielder who steps aside for a mage ready to attack with fire from up on high. This first look at this quartet showing off certainly has some strong opening animation vibes coming from it. We then get a good look at the ring and precisely what it does from channeling its power. And wouldn't you know it, he summons Marth from from the very first Fire Emblem. And yes, he looks fantastic, don't get me wrong, but I gotta say, seeing the glowing ring, the background, the summoning sequence, and his pose right after, this is a very gacha-like format. All it's missing is introducing the character with a rarity indication on this very shot, kinda like this. You can probably just stick the dialogue when summoning him from Fire Emblem Heroes right here, and it wouldn't look too much out of place. And I know, the word gacha is scary to some people in this day and age, but this doesn't mean Fire Emblem is going to start bleeding its mobile practices into consoles like that. My initial, if not solely optimistic take is that it'll function much like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, where we can earn chances to roll for characters in-game. Maybe it's only lords from the series with a small pool and just limited chances to summon them. Or maybe there's a whole plethora of minor characters from across the series to complement the rarer lords and ladies in the franchise. You might also already see comparisons to the way the sequence plays out from Xenoblade to this game. I don't want to instill fear or make it seem like gacha is a dirty word, but when you look at it, Intelligent Systems has been making the most money out of any Nintendo mobile game that's endured for the past 5 years. And the premise of the story is a lot like Heroes. Whether or not this game has some kind of gacha mechanic can be an entire discussion in and of itself, but we're not here for that today. I'm going to reserve my feelings on this until we have actual confirmation, but just keep in mind that this is a very real possibility. Following the title drop, we're greeted by what looks like a pair of siblings who seem to be the ones to tell our protagonist that he's been asleep for 1,000 years, same as in the legend we just heard about. Oh ho! Our first enemies appear, who normally would be your typical brigands in a Fire Emblem game, but these guys have masks with glowing lights on their forehead. This is very reminiscent of the third eye on the fellow dragon. A strange glowing energy emanates from their skin. These aren't your typical bandits this time. They're confronting who appears to be our first allies, namely those siblings and an older man wielding an axe. You can just feel the Jagan archetype oozing from this man and his facial hair. We finally get a look at the battle map and oh boy, I hope you're ready to look at some UI. First, let's take a look at everything revolving around our main character, who has a name, Aleer. Aleer is a dragon class unit who uses the Sword Liberation. Items like an extra sword, a vulnerary, level, movement, HP, and all the stats when engaging in battle are packed very neatly at the bottom. As with previous Fire Emblem games, I assume this is Aleer's main class-related skill that looks to be focused on support over offense. There's also room to learn more skills as our unit grows. Before we fight that enemy, we can also see some of our allies with a pretty varied set of weapons. 3 in particular have icons with some very familiar faces and appear assigned only to that specific unit. But I also gotta bring up this girl who not only uses a staff but can attack physically as well. Staff wielders are notoriously bad with physical attacks, so I really wonder if now they can properly defend themselves? I mean, I've seen some enemies get smacked with a staff back in the day. Finally, we've got a map in the corner, revealing the enemies and the fact that there's 2 more allies to the top right of the screen, one just off of it. Moving on to combat, Aleer comes into contact with the foes seen earlier, known as the Corrupted. We can see their stats, equipment, and items too. They're also labeled as backup. Will the game now recognize when a unit comes in as reinforcements? Upon selecting the foe, we see a very nice animation pop up along with stats, weapon advantages, and the overall flow of battle. You can now see precisely how much damage you'll give and take if every hit lands. I like this is nice. The battles are more dynamic too, getting an occasional perspective shift when a hit lands. In this enclosed area, we can see our Paladin Vander taking a more classic approach to engaging an enemy. And it's here that I realize this specific classification tells you what kind of unit you are, whether you're a dragon, cavalry, infantry, knight, and so on. This can tell you at a glance what their movement type and restrictions are in certain terrains like forests and water. This is also indicating that there will be weapons meant to target those types specifically. That itself isn't entirely new for Fire Emblem, but it's nice to see it return in action. Before this battle cuts right to the chase, I noticed that there was a glowing circle down on the floor here. These are probably spaces where you can find an item, gain experience, or refresh some of your weapon durability like in 3 Houses. But that aside, this battle is really cool. This bow user can actually be seen on top of the fort, which is a terrain that traditionally gives you defense and increased evasion to attacks. We've never seen units visibly occupy a fort elevated like this before. It makes me wonder what other terrain is going to look like in battle, and also how will this work when fighting a fellow infantry unit? It's easy to imagine a flyer striking back, but what if they're on the ground? You're gonna throw your sword at her? I'm quite curious to see how dynamic battles are, and we're gonna see a lot more of that in this trailer. The staff-using girl from the earlier cutscene is back, and wow, she just punched and kicked this man's lights out. You go, Fram. Fram? Thank God Fire Emblem has voice acting. Fram uses the iron body art, which is an entirely new weapon type. With the absence of gauntlets, it makes it seem like, well, yeah, a staff user might just be able to defend themselves from early on. There's no weapon durability shown, so we might be doing limited staff and magic uses as with 3 Houses. Or Fram might be a War Monk class in training, we'll see. Anyway, she and the next allies we see, like Lewis here, are fighting illusion soldiers. Illusion? Like illusion? Wonder if that's thematic. But take a look at this, he causes break on her. I don't know what this means. Maybe the Peg Knight has less defense now? There's no indication as to why that happens on the UI, so it could be skill related. We then see a Pegasus Knight of our own, Chloe, who just dodged an attack, fighting a thief with a hammer. And I'm not sure why it says 42 twice and not just 42 times 2, showing that she would hit a second time. It was here that I noticed that earlier this Peg Knight had 2 zeros when battling Lewis as well. I was thinking this was limited to just Pegasus Knights, but future references in the trailer show that that's probably not the case. After getting some, let's say, traditional looks at Fire Emblem combat, we then take a look at what's going to really mix things up here, in the form of the Emblem Rings. Let's take a look from left to right, starting with the column with all the stats. Along with previous stats we were able to see on the battle map, we can now see that Aleer has a build of 4. In other games, this was known as Constitution and relates to the physical size of a unit. This stat has not been seen since Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, so it's interesting to see if mechanics used in previous games will return, like the rescue or shove functions. As it stands, I can only imagine being used to help calculate if your unit can attack twice in a turn, depending on that unit's speed and the weapon's weight as well. And because I feel like it has to do with build, I wanted to quickly bring up the rating stat. If this was Fire Emblem Heroes, it's supposed to be the sum of a unit's total stats. But I couldn't add up to 53 unless we take strength, magic, dexterity, speed, resistance, and luck along with build. Still, it's a quick glance to show you just how overall powerful one unit is to the next. Right below build is SP, which is also quite unexpected. The only game to make use of SP in the entire series is Fire Emblem Heroes. I'm seeing a trend here. Normally, you can learn different tiers of skills by gaining and using SP, or even inherit skills to a unit that's compatible and teach them something that they're normally not able to. This makes me hopeful that if there is an in-game gacha system, you can take weaker units with favorable skills and make use of them by inheriting them to your army. And you can see some of the variety of skills on Marth with Perceptive, Break Defenses, Divine Speed, and Lotus Star Rush. The last two have a type bonus, perhaps pertaining to their class. Like in many Fire Emblem games, units can have a skill unique only to them, like how I imagine Lotus Star Rush will be. That skill is almost certainly not inheritable, but gains a bonus likely due to both being lords. Between our lords is a bond level, which may be something like a support system between your summon characters in the Emblem Rings. And since there's a bond effects tab that you can view by pressing the ZR button, there's likely multiple tiers of bonuses you can unlock by fighting with the same unit. Of course, we can't ignore Sigurd right below Marth, who curiously has a unique ring attached to him. The earlier cutscenes made it seem like this was the one and only ring to summon all characters, but it looks like there are indeed multiple rings that are likely shared across your party. I can definitely see there being extra paralogs to earn rings for specific characters. That's gotta be something that's ripe for DLC, right? After equipping a ring, the units become a pair like an adjunctant from Three Houses, or perhaps more akin to the pair mechanic as it offers stat boosts to the ring wearer. You can see both units, their bond level, shared items, and skills which offer a notable boost. Leaping into battle together, you can see each skill that becomes active. The duo strikes together, causing yet another break. This attack was powerful enough to make it look like a kill, but this poor ruffian still has HP left. We're just curious what the break status does. And again, we see multiple numbers on the damage stat, but 3 this time. It looks like this is taking each attack by you and the Emblem Ring unit separately. That itself makes more sense. The structure for attacks is going to need more context to know for sure. Next is Sigurd's turn and gets equipped to Alfred here. We can see that even a unit's movement and build can increase with the Emblem Ring. And sure enough, rating is indeed the combined total of all basic stats plus build. His skills are Canter, which I feel like should say Canto. It allows mounted units to have some movement after an action is made, which I think is what this icon indicates. The other two, Gallop and Override, are new to the series as far as I could confirm. It does seem like if they wanted, Alfred could equip Marth and Elir with Sigurd, however their unit typing will likely give them a weaker bonus. A small extra note, I'm happy to hear that Yuri Lowenthal and Grant George are reprising their roles for Marth and Sigurd respectively. Really hoping that the other units retain their English voiceovers as well. Well, we'll take whatever content of Genealogy of the Holy Warrior we can get, dang it. Interestingly, we can see that this is now later in the game as Alfred and Sigurd have a bond level of 10 and there are now new abilities attached to the Emblem Ring unit here. Then who do we have here? It's our boy Roy from Binding Blade and Micaiah from Radiant Dawn. As expected, they're paired up with a sword and magic tome user respectively. We don't see their full models or their stats here, but it's so cool knowing that we're going to see so many legacy characters in this title's beautiful art style. One more thing to take note is that there appears to be breakable wall icons here. It's a staple for Fire Emblem. I'm just glad to see there's going to be a good variety of terrain differences. As Alfred enters battle, we see the skill momentum take effect as the two mounted units causes break on their Illusion soldier. We do see that they quickly rise back to their feet despite the heavy blow. But do they lose their weapon or is that just for show? Regardless, it's setting up battles to feel very dynamic. Also, note that despite having a lance in the mirror art and the inventory, Sigurd can be seen using Tearfing in battle. Not seen anywhere else in his inventory throughout the trailer. Maybe preferred weapons unlock as bond levels increase for some characters? There's so much potential for growth in skills. Gone are the days of Garrick Mach Monastery. Welcome to, as far as we know, a place called Somnial, a name that seems to be derived from the word somnium, which is Latin for dream. Those floating stones in the background certainly set the mood of a dreamlike location. Right in front of us, we can see the astral illusion of Marth, who we can converse with if the blue icons indicate anything. Speaking of, we can also see a bit more of the structure of Somnial, including familiar icons for an item shop, weapon shop, and fishing! Yes! If there's fishing, it's already a great game. Accompanying this is a shop for new clothing and accessories. More on that in a bit. Above that is a hammer icon, where you'll be able to forge and repair items at a blacksmith. Lastly, there's an icon with an arch in the very center. Maybe it's a fast travel point? We can see another one right at the very end of the sequence, so it's hard to say. We get a closer look at these locations for the briefest of moments, from this stall selling potions, and this small pen with a very interesting looking ram that you can interact with. You can even talk to this bird! What secrets are you hiding? We then take a quick look at Calnie, who runs the smithy. Next is something I know many of us are going to be excited for. Costumes! And this seems to be going beyond the simple class upgrade costumes as well, as Citrine already has a pretty wide variety of outfits. We take just a quick look at her noble jacket and sunlit apron. There's also training wear, a blue sky dress which makes you think there will be a good amount of casual clothing, and a one piece? Fire Emblem 3 strings might not have become a thing, but I guess now we can look forward to Fire Emblem Undressed. It looks like these will not affect stats at all like before, and are purely cosmetic. And it's not just costumes, there's an option for accessories for the head as well. Yes, in the interest of not comparing it to Fire Emblem Heroes yet again, the accessories did originally appear in Fates. That game did allow for some pretty great accessory options. But Heroes makes me feel like I have so much power. Too much power? But speaking of Fates, you used to be able to have your units work at a facility between battles when you'd visit them in my castle. Is Alfred following a similar role here, as an ally who serves in the shops occasionally when not battling? He's quite friendly. Next, we see what's likely going to be one of the bigger elements of battle in the game. Alir and Marth perform an emblem engage, infused into a single character wielding the blade Mercurius. Since there's no battalions in sight thus far, this may replace gambits seen in 3 houses. When performing a gambit, the enemy cannot counterattack, and it seems odd that a unit with a ranged weapon like a hand axe can't retaliate, right? We also see those separated numbers along the damage section, as Alir strikes twice for 21. What does it mean? We then see Alfred wearing a costume more like Sigurd after fusing with him. He's using the Rider's Bane, which is something other Fire Emblem games have depicted him having as well. A very flashy cutscene plays as a bolt of lightning shoots forth. After battle, the unit slices straight through 2 enemies, defeating them simultaneously. It's this unique action and map movements that lend further credence that this will replace gambits going forward in Engage. We then see Celine, who appears to be some sort of royalty with that crown, performing Emblem Engage with Celica and moving across the map. Note that their combined unit class changes to Mystical when fused, and there's some new skill icons. One of them is food related, which means we're likely going to be able to bond with our friends over lunch again. As the cursor travels around, we can see an extended range of attack, and then surprisingly she teleports herself to the selected location. We can confirm that this is an ability called Warp Ragnarok, and much like Celica's signature magic tome, it takes HP to perform, although it's only 1 this time. I wonder if that's simply a callback, or if there's going to be more skills in the game that require HP to cast. With that out of the way, we get another glance at just how vibrant the attack animations are looking in this game. We get a brief glance at a villainous looking man here. He doesn't quite look like the same as the one we saw earlier in the trailer, but given their similar features and color scheme, I don't think it'd be too out there to say that these two are related. Father and son maybe? We then get a much better look at who I believe is the White Dragon, and originally grant us the power of the Emblem Rings. She must be significant in some way at least. Intelligent Systems is definitely holding that close to their chest right now. Following this, we see a very sinister looking individual putting on an Emblem Ring as well. This opens the door for other possibilities, mainly Fire Emblem villains and bosses that can, like us, Emblem Engage into them. This also provides the potential for rivalries reborn. Will we see Marth vs Garneth or Medius? Sigurd against Arvis? Ike versus the Black Knight? There's a lot of potential for villains to shine, and I'm already thinking of so many possibilities. Make sure you let us know what kind of rivalries you'd like to see reborn in HD like this. A scene of a battle in the snow between 2 factions take place, followed by our protagonist sending off against a revived Fell Dragon along with the same quartet of characters that we saw in the earlier cutscene. Just who are these individuals? And why have they not appeared as allies in battle thus far? They appear united with our protagonist in what would otherwise be a very key moment in the game. And finally, we see Alir and Marth opening a door together, leading into the main key art for the game. And from this moment, we see something that was missing from the entire trailer, the design for the female version of Alir. We once again see the quartet of characters off to the side, a generous amount of space given to Marth, and the 2 dragons in the background. And unlike 3 houses, Fire Emblem Engage appears to be getting made entirely in-house by Intelligent Systems. But speaking of the female protagonist, a single cutscene was released on Nintendo's Japanese website that fleshes out a bit more of the scene where we see Alir waking up. Fram and the yet-to-be-named boy witness their awakening and claim that they are the Divine Dragon. Lear appears understandably confused. I mean, they literally slept 10 times longer than Link did. Not a strand of bedhead, unbelievable. Not only do we get an extra look at the gorgeous art style in motion, but we also see a sample of what the story conversations will look like. Vander appears and is also surprised, calling her Lady Lear, claiming that it's a miracle she's woken up. Note that there's no longer a massive character portrait that takes up one side of the screen, thank goodness. I don't know about you, but I always thought it looked tacky seeing the same faces on the screen twice in Three Houses and Three Hopes. It's kind of honestly redundant in conversations like this. Engage's format, however, is much more elegant in design, and lets the colorful characters on screen shine more. And yeah, I gotta say before we wrap up, this game is looking gorgeous. They took the animation style that's been used in cutscenes since Fire Emblem Awakening and are finally applying that to the entire game. It looks fantastic. Battles look dynamic, hits have that oomph that I feel was missing in Three Houses. And as long as the Emblem heroes don't attract too much attention away from the main story, it looks like we could have a wonderful tribute to longtime fans. One thing I have to wonder, do you think Amiibo will have functionality with this game? Because I can very much see people who own all the Smash and Fire Emblem series Amiibo scanning in to instantly getting an Emblem Ring of that character. It'd be crazy to not have the relatively new Byleth Amiibo do nothing after all. Previous figures all unlock something in Three Houses, so there's no telling if they would go so far to be that generous in this game. That remains to be seen. Fire Emblem Engage has a release date of January 20th, 2023. This game has clearly been in development for a long time, and will no doubt see trickles of news for a game that's literally just months away. It's been very exciting to be a Fire Emblem fan between releases of Three Hopes, and now the hype has begun anew. But what were some of your favorite parts of this trailer? What are you most excited about? And was there something I missed that caught your eye? Let us know, and be sure to subscribe to Good Vibes Gaming. Check out our Patreon where you can support us and join our Discord for as little as $1 a month, and even check out our Twitch channel. Thank you all so much for watching. Till we meet again. Hey guys, so good to see you here. I know I'm not the usual analysis guy, but I hope you still enjoyed this. It's something I've always wanted to do. Thank you to all patrons for helping to make this happen. Wow, that's a lot of scrolling names. Just look at them all. Beautiful.